So I'm really excited to get into this whole road to Devil's Reign situation here because, yeah, I mean, I never really knew about Daredevil until the Netflix series dropped. Louis, holy crap.
No Ben Affleck, huh?
Oh, no. Good point. Yeah, I guess I blocked that out of my mind because, So, yeah, that was all I knew about Daredevil was Ben Affleck. And then that Netflix series dropped and I was hooked, not only just because of the ass kicking, but the philosophy that goes through it, the ethics and morality that is discussed, the conversations, his religious duality with everything. I just really loved the show. And so I don't know why it took me so long to get into a comic run. I'm stoked to dive into this because I already got a feel from what we read here that I'm going to really enjoy Daredevil stories. It hit a lot of points that I like in my storytelling. So it was a really, really positive experience as far as a first entry into Daredevil comics goes.
That is awesome to hear. Yeah, I agree. It's one of the better ones, I think, but Daredevil has so many great comics. What did you think of the couple cameos that they threw in here? And by the way, full spoilery detail moving forward for this comic book. Cameos, how'd you like them?
I thought they were used great. I thought Punisher, the way they used Punisher, Frank Castle, we kind of got a variation of the scene we got in season 2 with their discussion on the rooftop. It wasn't quite the same, but there were some little parallels here and there about it. But it was a really good scene between them and their dialogue between each other. So I thought that cameo was used solid. The little Defenders cameo thrown in there was a cool little touch to it. It made me, reminisce about the Netflix series there. Make me wonder if we're going to see that in the MCU. But that was very brief. They didn't use that very much. It was pretty funny, the little panels we got out of it. And that final one with Spider-Man was awesome. Yeah. Not the typical Spider-Man cameo you see. I don't think he cracked a joke. Maybe he said one thing, but I think that was like the most consecutive panels of Spider-Man dialogue I've ever seen without like sarcasm in it. So.
Yeah. Fully serious.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was a really cool way to use Spider-Man, not in the way you would have thought. He basically retires Daredevil, essentially. But yeah, I thought it was really cool the way they used the cameos. So that was one of my notes on this, was solid use of side characters in this.
Yeah. That was one of my original takeaways way back when I read it originally. I like how Daredevil says you could hear his heartbeat. And just by the sound of his heartbeat, you could tell how he's just a powerhouse. Like he's like the best of us. He says something like that.
He said he could hear the muscles tensing and could sense the strength of the muscles tensing. And could tell it was a powerful being, a being that didn't even realize his own power kind of deal, which is another step into, because Spider-Man, it's always that, well, we never really see his full power because he's always holding back. So it felt like a little nod to that too. So it was really cool how he was picking up on all these things of Spider-Man.
100%. So he writes it in a way that makes Spider-Man seem so badass. He also does that for Daredevil with that cameo with Punisher. Because when Daredevil starts talking about what he could accomplish if he were to use these guns, like, what did he say? Something about calling the Punisher something along the lines of, you think you're the sort of demon, but I'm the devil, something like that, and then he just shoots. But it was badass. Pretty much Daredevil saying, dude, I would destroy you. And if I picked up guns, I'd be 10 times as efficient as you.
Yeah, I forgot what the line was too, but it was a pretty solid little one-liner there about him being the devil. And yeah, you think about it. I mean, and again, it makes me think, I'm going to keep going back to the series, but it makes me think of Bullseye and the way he just hits everything in that series. And you have to think Daredevil with a gun would be eerily similar. And it's just so cool the whole way they show Daredevil's radar sense in these panels and in the art. And so when you think of that and then you throw in a firearm in there and everything, it's, that's a death machine. What if? Maybe. Yeah.
Right. It's funny because I actually love how they did it. I don't like the movie. I just like how in Ben Affleck's Daredevil, the rain helped him see things so vividly. I thought that was such a cool detail that they didn't ever really play with in Netflix. I don't know if they do in the comics either, but creative.
Yeah, I don't know if they did that in Netflix, but that was there's a lot of cool ways to do this stuff. I think who's Zdarsky. I think he had a lot of cool spots where he really showed the range of Matt's powers in a lot of creative ways throughout this volume. So I really like that.
All right, let's rewind a little bit just to kind of get some context on this story. Our Born Again pregame episode, I mentioned that there's a really, really easy reading order to prepare for Born Again, starting with the introduction of Muse, and then that leading to Fisk becoming mayor, and that leading directly into Volume 1, the comic we're reviewing right now. So getting to know Muse, and then Muse through Mayor becoming Fisk becoming Mayor, was all Charles Soule. So Charles Soule does all that stuff. Really cool. Muse is awesome. And then Zdarsky picks up here. So anyway, this story is basically about, first they introduce a new character, a detective, who I think is really cool, and I think he'd work out on the big screen. And I think, oddly enough, Dwayne Johnson would never take this role, but I think he'd be perfect if he let his ego give him a role where he's being defeated the whole time, you know, which he's never going to take. But I think because Detective Cole is like a good dude, just kind of follows the law, but way kind of like overdoes it, a do-gooder kind of guy. So he's basically in Daredevil's way this whole time. But I like the character. He's a nuisance, but you like him. You kind of get where he's coming from. Takes it over the top. Tell me that's not Dwayne Johnson.
He's massive, too. And the size aspect of him, he's absolutely a unit in this series. So I could see that. I almost was thinking of Alan Ritchson the whole time. Obviously, he's white, so it's somewhat different. But it just reminded me of like his Jack Reacher role kind of and with Amazon right now. It's just this massive, burly dude who, he does seem to be, you know, his heart's in the right place with everything. He's just a little over the top of things, but could totally see this on screen.
Yeah, and overall, do you like this character? I'm pretty sure this is his first appearance. Do you think he fits well into the Daredevil universe?
I think he does. I mean, one of his first lines when he first came in brought in like the moral quandary that I love so much about Daredevil stories, again, on screen, but now I'm starting to see on paper. And one of his first lines was, what, did this hero think he's going to turn this crook's life around if he was beat to hell by a guy in a devil suit? It's kind of like, that's one way of putting it. And he goes, I don't think this guy did it because it's right. I think it because he needs to do it. And at this point of the story, we're seeing a Matt who is crumbling. And I'm not sure what happened right before this. So I wanted to ask you about that because obviously some major events led up right to this. There's some mental stuff he's dealing with, which is always a thing. But so I like the thing the detective brought up. I'm liking his role in this. But yeah, is there a main like tragedy that happened right before this story?
I mean, don't even get me started. All of Daredevil's comics are just his life breaking down to a pulp every time. It's so depressing. And on that note, I actually finally just ordered the opposite. Apparently, Mark Waid wrote a whole thing. Everyone loves it so much, but it's like an optimistic, more lighthearted side of Daredevil, which doesn't sound appealing for the character to me. It's like saying like Wolverine's not killing anymore. Here's a comic. You know, I don't want to see that. Anyway, I've heard so much about how good it is. I gave it a shot, but we'll see about that. But every other comic, it's kind of depressing in a really fun hero comic book way, in a dark, grounded, gritty way. He's always just fucking up, whether it's fucking up his life or a loved life of someone's ruining their life.
Right.
It's just always the worst for him. So
classic Matt.
And it continues because he's out doing his vigilanting, and so he's beating guys up and he accidentally kills someone, and that's the main thing about this comic. There's also a conspiracy about someone setting him up for the murder. He doesn't believe he killed the person, you know, so all the laws against him, though. I mean, all the evidence points directly to him. But I mean, he's investigating. He's trying to figure out who had access to the body in between the murder and the funeral or something like that. So he's looking into it, but obviously we know Daredevil is probably going to not end up as a murderer. But it is interesting. Now there's a conspiracy, and we also know Kingpin didn't do it because Daredevil was listening, and Kingpin privately said out loud that it was not him. And he would love to know who did or something like that. So it's interesting.
It is. And yeah, I kind of had the feeling already he was going to get proven innocent, not knowing, not having read Daredevil comics in the past. But again, because it reminded me of Punisher season 2, where Punisher takes out a group of people or shoots up a room and there's 3 innocent women killed, and he's got this whole guilt. He thinks he murdered these innocent women, this whole thing, and if he finds out that it was a setup, he didn't actually murder those women, but he thought he was, which is hilarious because the Punisher kills people constantly, but it was innocent women compared to thugs, whereas Matt, it was just murder in general. But yeah, I like the mystery aspect to it.
Yeah, nice little tense plot point to kind of cling on to. That's kind of what the whole story is relying on right there. Matt's a murderer. Detective Cole, this new uppity detective's after him. And eventually they do cross paths, and Detective Cole North shoots Daredevil. So that sucks. That probably hurt. And now he's injured. Now he's in trouble. So he's looking at possibly, did they arrest him? I forgot at the end of this comic, or did he just get away injured? No, that's when the Punisher came in and started
Yes, the
shooting
Punisher
up the
shot
place.
up everything. Yep.
That's right. And then,
Yep.
so Daredevil escapes thanks to the Punisher. Like, real mean to the Punisher after the Punisher helped him quite a bit. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a devil, here's my guns. But it's pretty rough. Yeah,
Pride
that's right.
was kicking in.
And then that also, we already talked about it. But from there, Mac goes home, and that's when we get the interaction with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man says, dude, you're a murderer. Shut this down. And yeah, not a single joke or quip. He tells him to stop, which he does. And we don't see him suit up in Volume 2, but it is one of the best volumes, in my opinion.
Up. Yeah. There was one other thing. Well, we also got in this volume again, which is something I'm sorry. Look, it's probably just going to happen every time. Some from the Netflix series. We get the dialogue with him and the priest throughout that series, and we got a few of those panels in here with some good little one-liners here and there. You know, Matt being pissed, and him, whether it was flashbacks as a younger Daredevil or during this time. I think one of the times he went to the church after this, but just lines like, "Your sin is hating God. You saved a man's life, and God took your sight. God's revealing the world to you in other ways," as he's talking about the vision and the way Daredevil now sees the world differently than everybody else. And there's just a lot of that stuff in it, but not too much. It was like kind of peppered perfectly throughout the whole reading of this volume. That was another aspect I really liked about these 5 issues.
For sure. I like the doctor's quote that he told Daredevil when he's the one, he might have done the autopsy for that murdered person. He believes Daredevil murdered this guy. Mm-hmm. But he said, the doctor says, you know, I've patched up guys who crossed you. All of us here have. If anyone knows how precise you are, how surgical with inflicting violence, it's me. Every one of those people you sent to the hospital gets better. I don't know how you managed to know bodies that intimately, but trust me when I say this, you've screwed up this time. So yeah, but like I like that dialogue on like how precise he is with people's bodies, like hurting them enough to let them heal, but shut them down in the moment. But it's crazy. The doctor still does believe he murdered him. It really looks like he did.
Yeah, but that was a cool sign of showing how New Yorkers respect Daredevil, you know, although he's getting so down on himself. And we saw other points of that, like the cop didn't let Cole unmask him in front of everybody because he said, look, he's saved brothers of ours. He's saved, you know, family members of ours. We're not going to do him in front of everybody. We'll take the mask off back at the precinct. And so there were just a few different things here and there about how New York has a lot of respect for Daredevil and all the work he has done over the years, even though he's thinking himself as a murderer and evil right now. It was pretty cool little spots there.
Yeah, great line. Someone walks up to Detective Cole and they said, you know, you made a lot of people happy by making this arrest right now, just not the right people. Meaning the villains are happy. The bad guys are happy that you just arrested or tried to arrest Daredevil.
Straight up.
Good line.
And he's right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I had a question. So, and it felt super weird. I almost thought it was a dream at first, but the whole deal with the Defenders saving him from being arrested the second time. Punisher... No, not from being arrested. I think he was just getting his ass whipped by the Owls people. The Defenders save him. And that whole entire sequence, it was like he was drunk or something. I don't know. He thought they were going to arrest him. He's freaking out. They say, bro, we're not here to arrest you. We're just making sure you're okay. Like, you're running around with the Punisher shirt on. Like, you just don't look like you're being good. Like, are you good? And he's like, you know, I accidentally killed somebody. And like, oh man, we get it. Look, it happens. Like, I've accidentally done that. And he's like, you're a bunch of murderers. Like,
yeah,
what?
Dude, like, come on, man.
He's freaking out. And then they say, dude, you're wearing a Punisher shirt. And he goes, what? Oh, I didn't notice. I just needed a shirt. And I was like, wait, hold on. So the whole reason he accidentally put the Punisher shirt on? So that whole sequence of events, it felt hella weird. I was confused by like the state of mind he's in if he accidentally put on Punisher's shirt and was running around fighting crime. Really I don't know. That was the only kind of nitpick I had with these 5 issues was that little sequence. I was like, this feels like a fever dream right now. I'm waiting for him to wake up.
Right. I wonder if anything explains that, at least the shirt. But he was a huge dick to the Defenders, which he usually is. As I said, his life crumbles in his stories all the time. And they're always there to be like, dude, come on, man. Like, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of that relationship in Daredevil comics. But
okay.
The shirt, I hope they explain that. Who knows?
It's a little odd.
Yeah, but that covers the story. Let's wrap it up with talking about the art a little bit. But also, if you want, Daredevil was involved in a couple of those polls on YouTube. Maybe we could discuss them, see if we agree. All right, so, but the art. Checchetto's art is number one for me, with all Daredevil comics, at least. So, amazing. The way he drew the Punisher, the way he drew the Spider-Man, the way he drew Daredevil, even Detective Cole looked pretty badass. The action, the scenery, the lighting, I don't know, the faces, everything it's like some of the best art Chichetto.
So has he been on any other, I doubt it, any other ones we've kind of read or covered that you would know that I've read? I'm not sure if I'm familiar with them.
No, you haven't read it, but the Jonathan Hickman Ultimate Spider-Man, he's on that, and it's freaking gorgeous. So
is that like last year's, the super recent?
Still coming out, right?
Okay. All right. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I liked it. I will say I really didn't like the cover art for issue 1.
Me neither.
But then I liked issue 1 was weird. It kind of, I don't know. It had a weird feel to it.
Yeah.
But issue 2, I liked it a lot more, and I started liking the cover art a lot more, which I don't know. It might be a different artist who does the cover art. Sometimes that's the case. But as far as the overall story, I don't know if it was like top 3 of my favorite art, but it was definitely up there. I really enjoyed it. I liked it almost felt like a balance between crisp and clean, like some of the stuff we've read during the New Avengers stuff. But gritty, exactly. Yeah. Like a street kind of gritty, grimy feel to it, but still clean in aspects. And so I like that combination. Exactly. Yeah. So it felt just right, I'll say. So it wasn't like my favorite, but it felt perfectly fit for the story it was telling. So I really enjoyed that. And it's funny, you knew exactly the word I was about to combine with that. So,
and I was trying to think of the clean part. I couldn't think of like gritty and what is the other word, but yeah, clean but gritty.
Yeah. And no, I liked it. Right.
So how about a rating? What are you feeling on ratings? And then after that, how you feeling moving forward? You excited for Volume 2?
So as far as ratings go, and I always forget, I don't know that I've made a list of comic ratings at this point.
I finally started to.
And I should have. I'm going to check real quick because I'm trying to remember what I gave the last one we covered, which was
New Avengers. It was that they were traveling multiverses, meeting different. It's like right after Infinity.
Yeah. Well, and then didn't we do a different one though that you were saying that you thought I would like a lot? Right. I thought it was after.
That was this one. I thought you'd really like this one.
Well, that too. Sorry, I thought there was something else, a Penguin story or a Batman story. Oh, Kraven's Last Hunt. That's what it was, maybe.
Yeah, just for the...
So I'm trying to remember what I rated Kraven's Last Hunt there. But I would say, forgetting all previous things, just if I had to go 1 to 10 based off of this, I'd say probably like an 8.5, 8.6.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Right there.
Yeah,
exactly
so it wasn't the best, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked going to each issue ending. I was ready to hop. It ended every issue really well. Sometimes really it doesn't. Yes, they did a really good job at leading into the next issue. And I wanted to continue reading after issue 5 here until I realized it was part 1 of something else. But just because the way it ended, I loved the feel to it. I'm very curious to see what goes on with Daredevil moving forward. I know there's not going to be a lot of action because he's relinquishing Daredevil, which is usually a storyline. Yes. That's very common, and that's a storyline that we typically are not fans of. Like, we want to see our heroes being the heroes, not losing everything. But I trust the way this is written. I'm very curious to see the dialogue going forward and him kind of finding himself and wrestling with the morality of everything. You made mention that he had some discussions with Reed Richards, which I'm very interested to read. So I'm going into it not expecting action in the next volume, but I'm very interested to read it because of the way they wrote this first one.